From continuous internal genocide to the pulsation that cannot die. Right now, while you receive this, between 50 and 70 billion of your cells are executing themselves. Not dying, executing. There is a difference. Apoptosis is programmed cell death, a genetically encoded sequence of self-destruction that cells undergo on schedule, or when they receive the chemical signal to do so, or when the cellular quality control mechanisms determine that the cell has been too damaged to continue safely. The cell does not resist. It activates the program. The nucleus condenses. The DNA is cleaved into fragments by specific enzymes. The cell membrane blisters into small membrane-bound packages called apoptotic bodies. Neighboring cells and immune macrophages consume these packages. The entire process takes between 1 and 3 hours, 50 to 70 billion times. Today, in you, this is not disease. This is maintenance. This is the cost of remaining coherent. The caspase cascade, the enzymatic execution sequence, begins with a trigger and ends with the systematic dismantling of every structural component of the cell. The cell, in executing itself, participates in its own destruction with a biochemical efficiency that has no emotional charge, no resistance, no survival instinct of its own. It follows the program. The organism's coherence requires the continuous sacrifice of its components. You are maintained by a continuous internal genocide. Sit with the specific somatic quality this produces. A pressure behind the sternum, not pain, a weight. The ground shifting slightly beneath the model of my body, as something stable and continuous and fundamentally mine. The cells that composed your liver last year are largely gone. The gut lining replaces every 3 to 5 days. The skeleton over a decade. The you of 10 years ago shares almost no physical matter with the you of now. The continuity is not material, it is informational. What persists is not the stuff, it is the pattern the stuff is organized into. Turritopsis dohrnii, the biological scandal of the animal kingdom, can under certain conditions reverse its development. An adult specimen under stress can revert to its polyp stage and begin its life cycle again. Theoretically, indefinitely. It is biologically immortal. Not because individual cells don't die, they die constantly, but because the organism has a reset mechanism that material science has not reproduced in mammals. You do not have this. Your apoptotic program runs in one direction. The telomeres that shorten do not reliably lengthen. The tissue quality loss associated with aging is real and progressive. The body knows this in its marrow. 53. The protein called the guardian of the genome surveys every cell continuously for DNA damage that would make it dangerous rather than merely aging. When 53 detects unrepaired damage, oncogenic mutation or viral infection, it triggers apoptosis before the damage can propagate. Cancer, in its most fundamental description, is a failure of apoptosis, a cell that refuses to execute itself when it should, a cell that has hacked its own death program and now grows without limit, consuming the organism's resources, eventually destroying the host it requires to survive. Cancer is the self that refuses to die, consuming everything in order to persist, ultimately destroying the ground of its own existence. The Advaita texts have a name for this dynamic. They call it Ahamkara, the separate self-sense, the ego that refuses its own dissolution, consuming the organism's spiritual resources, calling its own expansion life. The Ahamkara is not the enemy. It is a biological necessity at a certain stage, exactly as any healthy cell is a necessity. The cell must form, function, and be released. The self must form, navigate the world, and then be recognized for what it actually is. Not an ultimate reality, but a functional construction. The question is not whether you have an ego. The question is whether the ego has gone cancerous, refusing dissolution, growing without limit, consuming all cognitive and emotional resources in the project of its own preservation. The Kashmir Shaivism Spanda Karakas describe the pulsation of consciousness, the Spanda, as the inherent nature of the self. The Spanda both creates and dissolves. Creation without dissolution is cancer. Dissolution without creation is nihilism. The sovereign oscillation is both, cellular differentiation and apoptosis, formation and release, the arising and the passing. Abhinava Gupta's Paramarthasara, the one who recognizes the Spanda as their own nature, neither grasps at the arising nor fears the dissolution, because what they are is the Spanda itself, not the cell, not the pattern, but the pulsation that gives rise to both. 50 billion cells executing themselves today are not tragedy. They are the universe demonstrating in the tissue of your body the fundamental truth that the Vedanta has been articulating in language. that what appears as loss is the condition of renewal, that what looks like death is the mechanism of life, that the dissolution of form is not the end of consciousness, but the return of energy to the field from which it will arise again. Your body is performing non-duality at the cellular level, continuously, right now. 50 billion acts of recognition per day. The part recognizing it is not separate from the whole, and returning. Now receive what this does to the fear of death. The fear of death, which has been present in the background of your life since the first moment you understood what death was. The specific low-frequency anxiety that has colored every conversation about the future, every diagnosis, every ache that lasted too long. The body's deep knowledge that it is a dissipative structure in a one-directional thermodynamic process. What dies in apoptosis is the cell structure. The information that organized the cell, the pattern, the template, the record of what was there, does not vanish. It is dispersed and reintegrated. The matter returns to the pool. The energy is redistributed. What was a liver cell becomes something else in the cascade of biological renewal. Nothing is lost from the perspective of the whole. Everything is lost from the perspective of that particular form. Consciousness is not a particular form. Consciousness is what particular forms appear in. The question, what happens to consciousness when the body dies, has the same structure as the question, what happens to the cinema screen when the film ends? The screen does not end when the film ends. The film ends. The screen is not the film. The awareness that is present right now, receiving this, noticing the weight behind the sternum, feeling the slow awe of a biology understood, that awareness is not a cell executing a program, it is not a caspase cascade, it is not a telomere shortening, it is not an apoptotic body or the macrophage that consumes it, it is what the entire cycle appears in, and what the entire cycle appears in does not undergo the cycle. Feel the quality of this as a bodily recognition, not a conceptual one. The breath slows slightly, the chest softens, the weight behind the sternum becomes something different, not the weight of mortality, but the weight of spaciousness, the particular felt quality of a large open space that has been mistaken for a confined one. The room is larger than the model of the room. The awareness is larger than the body it appears to inhabit. 50 billion cells executing themselves today in service of the coherence of a pattern that is itself in service of a consciousness that does not execute, does not age, does not compress into an apoptotic body, does not need the immortal jellyfish's reset mechanism because it was never in the life cycle to begin with. The Spanda pulses, the cells die and are renewed. The body moves through its one-directional thermodynamic arc. The stars exhaust their hydrogen. The universes cool to their heat death and are reborn at the Big Bang. And the consciousness in which all of this arises, occurs, and passes, the pulsation that is the source of the Spanda, that one has never once been at risk. Dissolving, renewing, deathless. Prior to the program, already free.